All right, it is 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. All members of the board are here and present. We'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. Sarah, would you do the honors?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First item of business is the approval of minutes from our August 29th meeting. They are in your packet.
I move to approve the Board of Selectmen special meeting minutes from August 29th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Are there corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Next, we have a reappointment to the Parks and Recreation Commission. Information is in your packet. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped that. Public participation, thank you. Public participation, this is one of two opportunities for members of the public to address the members of the Board of Selectmen. I'll first ask if there's anybody here in the room who would like to do so, and then provide the same opportunity to anybody who's with us online. Is there anybody here and present who would like to address the board? Yes, ma'am. Name and address, please.
Good evening, Maureen DeRozier, 101 Reservoir Avenue, in Broadbrook. So there's two packets, there's backup. So I submitted a FOIA request on June 10, 2024. I summarized the information below. So not all the emails are included, but just to give you the gist of it. Some information was provided over several months period. Several times they indicated that the town thought that they had fully complied. August 5th, 2024, I indicate that I had been in contact with the Connecticut FOIA Commission. Based on this contact, I determined that the town had not fully complied with my request. My email to the town even included a contact that they could use to verify their compliance and answer any questions. August 8th, 3 days later, I received an email from the town attorney. My client, this is his words, my client has requested that you stop emailing him regarding your recent FOIA community center costs and contract documentation requests. The town has provided you with all responsive documents in its possession. If you believe that the town has not provided you responsive documents, please identify for me what documents you believe that the town is withholding from you. August 15th, I replied, was the information mistakenly not sent to me? According to the information I received, an executed contract should be provided under a FOIA request. I have not been provided with a contract with BRD Builders. Also, is it true? There is absolutely no emails, estimates, documentation, even of a preliminary nature, related to the additional costs because of the water problem. August 28th, 2.5 months after the submission of my FOIA request, the attorney replies, first, the town does not have any documentation in its possession related to a water problem at Scalawag. Second, the town does not have any documentation related to gym equipment costs that were included in the $200,000 grant application estimate. No such documentation exists. Attach your documents related to the BRD contract that you requested. So I've included some screenshots of the emails in your information. I have a lot of concerns. One, the amount of time it took to process the request. Getting the town attorney involved, obviously at a cost, to not so nicely contact the requester. The town still doesn't know the obligations on what it's supposed to provide it under a FOIA request and is unwilling to contact the knowledgeable people should they have questions. The town didn't even fully comply. The town attorney stated that the town doesn't have documentation related to a water problem. Is the town not keeping the town attorney in the loop about all the change orders? Did they not know about the tests done on the property that led to the addendum to the RFP because of the high water table and eliminating the basement? How can the attorney protect the town's interests if they aren't provided all the information? This is very concerning, especially related to deciding whether to replace the architect. Attached is the change order detail attached to the August 2024 Building Commission meeting minutes. I want to point out that the very first change has a date of 5/29/2024, which is prior to my request. The value is over $92,000. I want to state that most people submitting a FOIA request don't know if the town is fully compliant. because they don't know what information the town has. The town's taken advantage of this. Now let me go over some of the information that I got. So the information I received, including that which was contained in the monthly project budget reports as a result by FOIA, was very informative, but resulted in questions. I asked some of these questions in my emails to the town, but they were never answered. So I'm asking them here. So why are there $100,000 in legal fees in the revised budget? The original CDS grant indicated that no cost would be associated since the town already owns the property. Cost as of 7/31/24 are less than $6,000, but they set the budget at $100,000 for revised. Why was the water line installation only estimated to be $150,000? If you look at BRD Builders' breakout of costs, labor itself is $150,000, materials $220,000. That doesn't include costs for any road repair or paving. Looks like the elimination of the basement from the cost really helps you. The original budget for the architect was $130,000. As of 7/31/24, the estimated cost for the architect and consultant and engineers was about $83,000. Less than $11,000 of this was for Stephen Yager Associates. This leaves almost $50,000 remaining in the original budget for architect fees. So obviously that's important when determining the architect, if the architect only incurred less than 11,000 fees of this project. But most importantly, why is $150,000 that was described as previously allocated not listed as a source of money on the monthly budget report? This would leave more ARPA money or money transferred from CIP allocation in June of 2022 to be used for something else approved by the town. So April 13, 2022, in the CDS grant application, $150,000 is described as previously allocated. July of 2022, the same is stated again in the CIF grant application. So two different applications, they said $150,000 is already previously allocated. Apparently it wasn't a grant. So why is $150,000 not listed as a source of money? What happened to the $150,000 that was supposed to be used for the project? I didn't see anything in the transfers since 2022 that would have authorized the use of it for something else. Did I miss it? So 1.2 million didn't get transferred to the project until June of 2022. ARPA money didn't get approved until the referendum, March 2023. So where is this $150,000? Information regarding this needs to be provided. So please forward all this information to members of the building commission, because they need to know this information to make an informative decision replacing the architect to protect the town. Thank you very much. And I certainly hope that you look at this information and find out the answers. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Post Drought, 2 Rye Street. Just wanted to kind of briefly touch on the new business night for with the CSG contract. Seems a little premature to be signing a contract for $30,000 when, as of right now, from my information or what I know, that last meeting is almost ready to vote on possible one of the options that we have here. And with the building options, when I've gone over them a few times, we have 6. Really, maybe 2 are viable. I think after talking to Patrick, there is more options, but obviously we're not going to overwhelm with 30 different options. But realistically, looking at it, a couple of them are basically the same thing. One's not. It also seems that not even knowing what the borrowing power is before even making a decision seems to be well. I think it needs to slow down, find out a little bit more information first. If you're going to go buy a house, you're going to kind of figure out how much you can afford before you're going to go out and pick a house. Bringing in community resources, I've kind of brought up before. I think there should be a lot more people involved. in the start of this. So let's say when there was or a couple of buildings, it would have been great to have the building commission maybe there, of people with experience. You know, I heard one of the subcommittee members say they're not gonna listen to any, not gonna take any advice from a plumber or electrician or something like that. Well, I'm not sure if you want a hairstylist or, I don't know, a flight attendant or somebody that's not in the business, not looking at these sort of things. So that type of person being on a committee that's kind of making some major decisions for us. I think you would want a little bit broader perspective from the start, not till everything's over and it's okay, let's pick out some flowers or extra on the outsiders. Many questions have been asked. I don't feel like there's been a ton of answers. And I believe this with every board. I appreciate you give her more than 3 minutes. Most of the boards, there's never going to be a response. Within that 3 minutes, you have the power to have a back and forth. It's the only way anybody out here is going to get any information. If we just sit here and have a comment, that's fine. But if there's questions and you're able to answer within reasonable time, I think you should go back and forth so people have the information. Because throughout the 10 years I've been here, I get to say something for a few minutes, you never get information, you never hear anything back. So I think things need to change there. I get it if you have 40 people going off on you, you don't want to be here until 10 o'clock at night having arguments. But I think half the time there's barely anybody at these meetings, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to have back and forth conversations, get the information. People can watch a video later. If they don't have time, they have children, soccer, things going on. They can watch it and get the information, not just the questions, but the answers as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Typically, we do engage in a little bit that occasionally gets further than it should, and we have to clamp it back down. But
Totally get it.
we do try and address simple questions as we get them. Is there any other public comment? Is there anybody online who would like to address the members of the Board of Selectmen? All right, there will be another opportunity later in the meeting. So now let's turn to reappointments. Susie Taylor as a member of the Parks and Recreation Commission.
Move to reappoint Susie Taylor as a regular member of the Parks and Recreation Commission for a term expiring October 1st, 2029.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So approved. Okay, so Mr. Ostrout set the table for us on 9A. So as the conversation around what to do with our schools in terms of the facilities has advanced, one of the things that the Board of Education's, actually Denise, you're here, so I'm going to let you speak to this if you want to. I'll set the table and then you can fill in any blanks. The facility subcommittee met with a consultant who specializes in community engagement for school referenda to educate the general public on what the proposals are and what the options are and what the pathway forward may be ahead of a vote on the projects. I agree with Jeff that I think this may be a bit soon to do this. I talked to Patrick about this as well, and he was, I'll say, somewhat ambivalent about it. You know, there's certainly a need to make sure that we handle this in as communicative a way as possible. But to your point, we don't know what that is yet. So in talking with Patrick, he will not be opposed to us returning this to the facilities committee. If we decide to, we can go forward with it. If we decide to, we can go a different route if we decide to. But the request was made, it's on the agenda, so you all can consider what to do. Denise, what did I miss?
So let me just maybe reset the table a teeny bit. Do you need my name, Sabo? Denise Menard, 73. What the committee that I'm chairing is a subcommittee of the Board of Ed. What we have been doing is a very preliminary first step, and having CSG on board to advise the entire Board of Ed when we go to the next step would be very beneficial. Because to Jeff's point, we need to involve more people, and they're the specialists at knowing how to get that done in the most experienced way. we're not experienced in all of the whole process. A lot of us have different kinds of experience in building and schools and education and all of that. But as far as a process to get the information to the next step, which is more community involvement, and then have a logical, okay, after that step, when do we do a survey? When do we get the building committee involved? When do we go for the next step? That's what I understand CSG, this change would do. And it probably would be helpful to have it now rather than later.
Sure.
I had several questions written down. I was hoping the company would be here or Dr. Tudrin would be here. My biggest thing is that I want the public and other boards and commissions to be engaged sooner than later. I want to know how we're addressing the community. Before we make a decision, are we getting some input from other boards or parents of children, since they are in fact the people who send the kids to school? But when we hire this company, are we pushing the agenda that we are going to go with this model and that's it? Are we getting feedback before we make a decision on what that step is?
So I think one of the things that this is intended to do is help to facilitate that feedback before a decision is made.
Dr. Tudrin did allow me to speak on his behalf, and that's correct. It is to have a process in place for doing all of that you're talking about. That's why I said what the facilities committee has done so far was very preliminary. Then it goes to the, next level of people and then the next level of people, but we're not specialists in knowing how to do that real well. And we want to be sure we don't miss any steps and we don't miss communicating to the public.
I get what I'm asking though, is because your board, the Board of Ed, is kind of going in a direction already. So will that company be pushing the narrative on that, or just in general on what the public would like to see with our schools?
What I understand it to be, maybe I should stand instead of looking around people. Sorry, Tiffany. What I understand this committee, this group to be doing is helping us know when to do the different pieces of getting the word out. But what the Board of Ed at this point is being asked to do is to look for a preferred option, not the only option. It is not an end all, but it is the option that we prefer. That was at the guidance of, I think it was CSG actually, that we have to narrow it down so that they start concentrating on the pros and cons of that being the preferred over the others. So it really is a pretty big thing for the whole community to be doing. And the whole community doesn't need to be involved, and certainly the schools understand that.
Sarah, you all set?
I don't know if you can answer this, but from the previous school districts that were visited and the superintendents that were spoken with, did they use this type of referendum specialist, and how did they find it beneficial, and what were some examples
The
that?
South Windsor schools did use them, but South Windsor schools, if you're aware,
Mhm.
built 5 brand new schools.
Great.
So it would be, they have the experience. I don't think they use the same next step people, but there are few of those next step people. And the superintendent in South Windsor was very adamant that it would be beneficial for us to use somebody.
And the other 3 that we visited were not done recently enough to have incorporated it.
Okay.
South Windsor was by far the most recent model that we had visited.
And then this is addressed to the building committee. So did they in fact receive this letter as well?
I don't know the answer to that. This came to me from the BOE, so I can't speak to that.
And then the money, where would this be coming from?
There's the planning money that's already sitting in CNR for this purpose.
And how would they in fact be assisting the building committee? just by these items here that they.
Well, the scope of work is here, yeah.
Okay. My biggest thing is I want to make sure that the public and other committees are involved in the process before a decision is made.
Absolutely.
I think that's really important. So,
And the building committee is involved once, certainly throughout the process for input, but they get the whole thing through the process. They're the ones that help us, everybody, as residents of East Windsor and specialists in what they do. So they would have valuable input
Mhm.
in a couple of steps, or the next step, we're not sure.
Okay.
That's what we need that for. And then when the plans are together and we're getting started with whatever the project is going to be, then it's handed over to the building committee to manage, to make sure that it's done correctly, that all the pieces are put in place the way they're supposed to.
And that handoff would really happen after the funding is secured.
Mm.
You know, once the voters say, yes, this is a project, then that's what happens.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank you guys for all the hard work you guys are putting in so far. But I do have some concerns, and please don't take it personal, it's just my opinions. I would like to table this for two reasons. The first reason, I think we owe it to the public to have a meeting scheduled where the public can attend. The last meeting that was put out there for the public to attend on what your subcommittee was doing was on the night that the middle school had open house. All those parents had to make a decision. Do they go to the open house for the children, or did they go to school? Shame on whoever set the date and didn't realize what was happening when that date happened. We've got to be aware and cognizant, because the perception is they didn't want people there. I know that's not the intent. But I also know some people can take things and twist things to fit their purpose. So I don't want to get this stuck in a dead hole before it even starts to move forward. So what I would like to see too is I would like to see another meeting called ahead of time. Just because I may want to combine two schools, or I may want to build a brand new school. I think I want to hear from the public first in what I thought was going to happen this previous meeting. And then I'm not sure what this optional allowance without seeing newsletter pages and all of that stuff that they're referring to, whether or not we need that option. I agree we need to, send surveys out there. I agree that, we need to be prepared for the referendum, but I don't think we're there yet. I don't think we have the public's input the right way. Now, if nobody shows up at another meeting, then shame on the public for not showing up. But at least give an opportunity without having to choose between going to the open house or going to a meeting. And I would make it a town meeting, not just a school meeting, and have it so it's welcoming. Having it in the little tiny room, it's not really inviting. Put it in the auditorium where they know that they're expecting a lot of people, and that'll more than likely surface more people. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. Have we made any decisions yet? So, I mean, and I don't have a problem with waiting a little bit, but I'm pretty comfortable with this at this point in time, because I think we need some help. And if you remember back, we've had 2 meetings with CSG, or 3, right? To get to this point. And now we're saying, when we got to this point, well, we need another meeting to make sure we got to this point. I mean, I don't want to get into this, time slipping away, and we're not really doing anything except for arguing about it and not actually moving ahead. We've made no decisions, and we need obviously some professional organization and help to make sure that we're pulling in all the stakeholders. So I don't mind waiting, but I'm also pretty comfortable with, getting these people on board and making sure that we, as everybody is saying, we don't screw it up right from the beginning. So. Good.
Keith.
So, so I share Sarah's concern, or not concern, her request, making sure that a lot of stakeholders have input. And I think we all share that. That was really important, what she said about that. And I see that as part of what's going to happen here. And I'm also on the same wavelength as you, Denise. I mean, I think we need to move this forward and I listened to all the meeting minutes. I wasn't able to see or the videos, where it was reported back to the board and the board discussed this issue. I wasn't able to see any minutes yet for the subcommittee, facility subcommittee from the August meeting, but it was reported out in great detail at the Board of Ed meeting. And I was at the CSG meeting, we all were, we heard, and we all have ideas. And I said, and I think my opinion was shared that this should be led by the Board of Ed and the superintendent, and that's why we put it back in your hands and you have the facility subcommittee with the superintendent. I really believe in that completely. And I also feel, that having Kate Carter and South Windsor having used this process and use these people to go through that, it's immensely valuable for us as a community to follow that lead. That was enormously, positive in South Windsor to get the votes for 5 elementary schools. And that's because they didn't have people misaligned with the plan from the beginning, right? From the very beginning. And that doesn't mean that people shouldn't have input and everyone has to agree. But like, I'd like to be asked as a stakeholder, as everyone else in this room would like to be asked as a stakeholder. And I like to have an opportunity to give my opinion, but I don't want to hold up money on account of I might have a different opinion. I'm not even going to state my opinion because I don't want to interfere with the process. My opinion is if the stakeholders are not nearly completely aligned to get this done, the community won't support it. And if we split and there's multiple options that are debated and disputed, then it's not going to go anywhere because everyone in the community that's going to vote has their own opinion. Okay, they need to know that this is a decision that was made ultimately to move forward with the project after all this work has been done and stand behind it or, maybe step aside and don't oppose it. So, you folks need the money to move ahead.
They have the money.
I have the money.
Just need the authorization.
We need authorization. I don't think we should do the additional optional allowance because that's not necessary for this first stage here. And I think you guys you need professional help to move ahead. And as Alan said, you need the expertise to move this forward. And that includes the expertise to know how to get stakeholder input, how to talk to members of the community, how to talk to parents, how to talk to staff, how to talk to boards and commissions, what information to gather, whether it's questionnaires or direct interviews. And I don't want to stand in the way. And Marie, I know I have different opinion and you have different opinion about what it might look like. And I saw what was discussed. I'm not going to mention it because all of us have different opinions. I want to move it ahead. I want to move you guys forward and I'm ready to vote tonight to vote for the 19,625 for the base scope of work. And then we have an opportunity to review how it's going and ask questions. That's my opinion.
For the record. For the record. Building committee is a building commission. No fault on anybody, but there's a big difference.
The building commission, as I understand it, is when the project is approved, they're in charge of the construction and they deal with all the architects and they get the bids out for architects and engineers and they build the thing. But the building committee's opinion as to it's important as to what they do, but it's like, Debbie, your opinion counts, my opinion counts, your opinion counts, but it's the Board of Ed that has to roll up all these opinions, put it together with a plan, use the expertise and roll it out as the plan for schools in our town. That's my view.
Clarify maybe a teeny bit, be sure that I'm explaining it correctly. The next step would not be the Board of Ed saying, here's what we want to do. It would be something along the lines of, this is our preferred plan, but here are all the ones that we've looked at. We're not going to hide that. We want everybody to be able to see it and to have input, and having CSG's advice on how we get that word out there correctly, because we're not experts at that, is what that's all about, what this change is about.
Other comments?
I just have a question, Denise, do you know why this was addressed to the building?
I don't know that. It's from CST.
Yes, the paper we have here
The
says,
paper we have from CSG, it was regardless of, and you're right, it's not the right name for the committee. But
Maybe
I'm just wondering why they're sending it to them when they don't have
He
any.
probably meant the facilities subcommittee, which is who they met with. It might be
The
a typo.
facility subcommittee.
Yeah, because. Not to the point of the building.
So
you know, the time frame of this or like,
Well, they said that from the point where they begin their process, it's about 10 months to a year before the referendum would occur.
We wanted to get a referendum out. And is there a vote next year? Is there something coming up? There is, right? Like municipal elections?
Yeah, the CSG folks stress that you do not want to do this as a part of a general election. And South Windsor is the example that they point to. You want to do this as a standalone question so that this is the question and it's not influenced by anything else. It is just this. And they suggested a late spring or early fall date is preferred.
If we wanted to do it, we'd have to do this soon in order to get the lead time accomplished, in order to get it out for late spring, early.
So springtime next year is pretty much shot.
That's true.
Early fall, almost shot. Still have some time, but not a ton.
Right, but you don't want to do it at the election, and then, I understand.
That's actually a very good point, because we thought it should go to the election. And those guys said no. They know what they're doing.
Can we take a motion on this tonight? To see where we end up with it?
offered up.
Yeah.
If the motion were to pass, what I would like to do is to make sure that the next step is the community engagement part. Because I don't want the perception to be that we're getting ahead of our skis here. You know, so I think the
I'll agree
first
to
task that they should do.
I'll agree to.
well, that's what I mean, though. If we are engaging in a contract and what if that can't be done? What if that's not the stipulation? Like, that's why I wish someone was,
It's the point of the contract, right? It's the whole point.
It's how to do that. How to get that.
Because there is nobody here in this whole operation
oh,
who
no,
has done this before.
I understand that. My concern, though, is engaging in something and then having it not go the way that we thought it would, or
We could ask CHG to do a town hall type of presentation to go into the option, basically rerun the one that we did in the spring with a finer point on it. The only concern that I have from a timeliness perspective is there are going to be some limitations to what we're able to pay for. And Amy is not going to be able to tell me that for another couple of weeks.
Okay, so let me make a motion, if I could. I'd like to make a motion that we support the Board of Education request to amend the CSG contract to include a referendum specialist per this August 30, 2024 proposal, with the requirement that community engagement immediate priority. And in the funding amount of $19,625.
Authorize the first selectman side.
And authorize the first selectman to sign the engagement letter.
Is there a second? Made and seconded, discussion. Let's call the vote if you want.
no, I mean, for the record, I mean, I'm not looking to slow the process down. After taking the tours and things are still the same as when I went to school. And I understand that things, there needs to be a plan in place, and I appreciate all the work that the Board of Ed has done. I just think that there's still some concerns and still some things that need to be worked out before we lock into a contract. I'm just a little, I just have some concerns still. And
Mr. Gut feeling?
yeah, I mean, I do. I have some concerns and I don't want to come across as I'm not in favor of updating our schools or moving forward to improve the education for students here. I just feel that there needs to be more engagement before we walk into something that's just my gut feeling at this time.
You know, I think I think back to the meetings that we were at over at the school, and I think we had a couple here too. And a whole bunch of stuff was put on the table, and when we got to the end of it, it was too much stuff on the table. And everybody in a different direction, and we needed, we sent Board of Ed away to give us a little bit of work, and they've done that work. They're coming back to us and they're saying, okay, well, we've got some things lined up, but we don't want to make another move before we get some help with this because we don't want to screw it up. I think this is exactly what we need to do right now.
And with the motion that was made, I don't have a problem with that. I just want to make sure that engagement takes place. Because I don't
Yeah,
want
well,
to come back
me,
later on.
the way I interpret this, and maybe I got it wrong, but this is to get that engagement, right?
Okay.
This is not a vote at all on the project. Doesn't say anything whatsoever about the project. It's just to hire the expert, to allow the work to continue. And just to address Sarah's concern, I did say that that community engagement would be an immediate priority as part of this engagement letter.
So you can tell me 100% that the community engagement is not pushing a specific project or a specific way that the town is going. It's asking input from the community as to what they'd like to see from their students. You can assure me that that's correct.
The message I'm getting, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you guys have a preferred way you want to go. You're going to present that along with all the other things and things you don't really want to do, but this is what we looked at. And that's exactly the time for people to say, well, no, we love your idea, or no, we don't like your idea, or, that's what gets the ball rolling. And instead of getting that, like everybody thinking, and getting into their foxhole, right? Then we, start working through that together. And that's what we need. We need that disinterested third party to say, okay, well, here's how we're going to facilitate this. And we've done this with other things. I can't remember off the top of my head, but we used a facilitator for
POCD?
POCD. The way we did the chief, hiring the chief and the
Yeah.
deputy chief, it was, that was a very conflict ridden time, and they helped us get through it in a very,
I agree we need a professional company. I just want to be assured on what the narrative if that's what it is, then I will support it. But if it turns out to be otherwise, I'll be very disappointed, but.
Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
Jason, you got a second on that, right? Somebody seconded that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ellen.
yeah.
Okay. We're on to 9B, discuss Greater Hartford Dial-A-Ride operating grant contract. This is a pro forma thing that we do every year. What this does is it allows for funds to come back to East Windsor to provide for the Dial-A-Ride service, and then it's supplemented by donations local. It's the same thing we do every year.
We just need your signature.
Move to approve the 2025 Dial-A-Ride Operating Assistance Grant Contract for the town of East Windsor and authorize the signature of the first selectman.
Where are you going?
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. All right. Too many clicks. All right, So we need to talk now about some capital project opportunities. And the long and short of it is we have funding available through LoSiP and through CNR unallocated. I'm going to explain a little bit about a little bit about each of those things and the parameters around them. First, I got to figure out how to make my thing work. Can't see because of the icons. So LoSiP is state funds that are used for capital projects. LoSiP changed their parameters I think in the most current year. It used to be that you would have to submit capital projects to the state, do the projects, and then submit for reimbursement. They changed that, so now it's an upfront allocation, but it needs to comport with a project that's on your CIP plan. So in total, because there are two sets of rules, we're going to combine them into the most recent one, which is the most inclusive of our local legislative process. So we have $270,000 available. The process is that the Board of Selectmen will approve the projects, the Board of Finance will approve the projects, and then they will go to a town meeting for approval there. But they need to be off of what CIP put together in last fall's work. So first things first, the police department is doing really great things, but they are struggling a little bit with cruisers. They had a cruiser that was taken out by a police officer pulling in oncoming traffic and having the car totaled. They had a cruiser that was taken out when an officer turned around on railroad tracks in pursuit and wrecked the body of the car. They had a car that was returned from repair, but wasn't water sealed. Water got into it and fried out the cruiser. If they have any luck at all, it's only bad luck. So what I would recommend is that we consider using some of our LoSiP dollars to bring another cruiser back into the fold. That's on the CIP list. We also had funded most of the security upgrades that are required at the police department for them to be in compliance. We didn't fund all of it, and the recommendation would be to take $28,000 and finish off those security upgrades so that project is done. We have spent quite a bit of time investing in East Windsor Park and Osborne Park and Volunteer Park. Also on the CIP list are pocket parks in two area parks, Prospect Hill and Pierce Park. Prospect Hill in particular is a neighborhood that is getting more children in there. We've had complaints about the condition of the playground that's there. And same is also true at Pierce Park. They actually have a piece of equipment there that is no longer legal to use. So we are suggesting that we use $100,000 of that LoSiP allocation to provide for pocket parks, smaller playground opportunities in the Prospect Hill neighborhood and in the Windsorville section of town. The dog pound is a project that has been around for a long time. We are almost done with it. The last thing to be done with that is there needs to be a new roof put on the building. Once that new roof is put on the building, that project is completely closed. It's completely up to state regulations so that it's compliant and we can close the books on that. And then the last recommendation would be for gazebo and grill improvements around various town parks. All of those projects are on the CIP plan. All of them would go to the Board of Finance and then go to a town meeting. So capital and non-recurring unallocated. There's two ways that money gets put into CNR unallocated. The first is when there is a project that is approved and there are leftover funds at the conclusion of the project, those are swept into CNR unallocated. And then secondly, interest that's accrued on our capital investments is deposited in the CNR unallocated. This was a little bit of an eye popper for me when Amy came and told me what this number was. This number, $668,000, is $400,000 higher than it was last year. And I said, how can that be? And her response quite simply was interest. Interest rates were up until yesterday were very high. Not that they're a lot better now, but all of the investments that we had, all of the money that we had sitting in CNR was interest bearing. So that generated an additional $400,000 worth of funds that are available to be used. So that's that. These are going to follow the same process as well. Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, town meeting. We had talked about the installation of digital signage at Town Hall and the Town Hall Annex. We had appropriated some money for that. The price has changed slightly. In order to complete both of those projects, we need an extra $15,000, $7,500 per sign. So our choices would be do only one of those locations or appropriate the funds necessary to do both of those locations. That's a decision for the various boards in the town meeting to make. At our last meeting, you all had tasked Amy and I with finding where we could get the money for the CEN onboarding. That is the high-speed fiber installation that's ARPA subsidized to be available at the Town Hall Annex, and the Community Center. That is $8,200, I think, per site, $8,400 per site. And this is a qualifying expense as a capital investment. So if you want to know where we can get the money from, this is where we can get the money from. The fencing at East Windsor Park is, I would venture to say original. I'm not sure of that, but it looks to me to be original. And it's also chain link. It's got a very institutional feeling. So it's not welcoming. It doesn't have that feeling like this is a place to recreate. It has a feeling of this is a place to be imprisoned. So our recommendation is to take $75,000 to replace the fencing along the Reservoir Ave or Reservoir Road section, so that it is a more aesthetically pleasing and border, but it also is prohibited from people driving a car in and blowing donuts on the field or something. Speaking of the park, we have a pretty understood problem, as in people understand that it is a problem. Our waterfront on the hottest days of the year typically is the bacteria level in the water is too high for people to use it. So it's counterintuitive to have a bacteria-ridden water resource that you can't use. So we need to have an engineered plan to develop a solution to what is causing that. This $125,000 for the waterfront engineering would not solve the problem, but it would identify the problem and it would create a shovel-ready turnkey project so that when there was an opportunity for funding, whether that be through CDS or CIF or state bonding or grants or whatever it is, we have a plan that is ready to go to solve that problem so that amenity is something that is usable, particularly when we want to use it. HVAC renovations at the town hall and the police department. We need to have a dedicated HVAC unit for the town's server. The current configuration, the same HVAC unit is servicing the server room as is servicing all of town hall. And that creates some haywire circumstances where it's either too hot or too cold pretty much everywhere all the time. Servers need to be kept at a controlled pool temperature, which is separate and apart from, what the environmental conditions call for throughout the rest of the building. On the PD side of things, I believe there are four additional units that need to be replaced at the police department. They're 20 years old or more. They are past their useful life, and it's an opportunity for us to catch up and move on with that building. During the budget process, we had made some reductions to dollars available for paving. This is an opportunity for us to put some of that back so that we can actually get additional roads or additional road miles paved. I'm not sure if it's roads plural, $300,000 and not what it used to be. But we could at least get additional road miles done this coming spring. We had talked about helping the Cemetery Association make improvements on town cemeteries. When we sent the pavement company out to the particular areas that they were looking at, they said that for the $27,000 that had been afforded, yeah, they could fix that, but it would be a patch job. And in 5 years or 7 years, you're going to be right back here with the same problem, spending the same money over again. We also asked them to provide us with a quote for how much it would cost to actually fix that problem so that we're not throwing good money after bad. And they said that for a total project price of $54,000, we could fix that area of the cemetery so that the problem isn't going to be something that any of us have to consider again until we're tenants. And the last one, in the springtime, Chief Carl had asked the Board of Finance to transfer funds from his salary line to an equipment line to purchase 2 drones for an emergency management program that would support fire service, police service, various town departments. The existing drone that we have is 8 years old and probably should be replaced as well. If we were to purchase one more, that would allow for each fire department to have a drone embedded in their departments, plus have one that's available for the police department. So we're recommending funding for that. Again, all of this stuff on both of these slides, Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, town meeting. And this is a summary of the requests. Questions, comments? Yes.
We have quotes for some of these, like, the Pocket Park quotes, $100,000.
Yeah, it was in CIP.
No, did the CIP get quotes?
Yes.
The quotes?
It's in the
Yes.
book.
And the same with the, fencing and the waterfront engineering, the quotes for those things?
The waterfront engineering, I don't think we do. That's a new ask, but that the 125 is a pretty standard price for engineering work when you're looking for a turnkey project. And they actually reminded me of a point I meant to include, so thank you for this. Anything that's in the CNR unallocated line, any project, just as I said, the money goes into that fund. Anytime there's an overage of money associated with those projects, it goes right back to CNR unallocated, and it's available for reappropriation a second time. So that actually, the funding is already in CNR. If we tag that to a project and the project has excess money at the end of it, it just goes right back to where it came from.
So I'm in favor of the engineering to take care of that. Actually, when we had all the water spilling down into the new playground area, and that water actually spills down past the playground into the pond, it's probably causing some of the problems because there's tons of overflow water, and that should be engineered. Like that's what I was saying earlier. We should have that completely engineered, the whole area, figure out what's going on with the water. What's happening as a side? We had said that we were going to have a priority of some changes to Main Street, and we're going to make some improvements along the Main Street area, and we're going to put a grant in for that.
Oh, the CDS applications, they were rejected.
So should we be thinking about putting some of this money into those priorities that we talked about for the Main Street enhancements?
They're not capital.
Well, some of these aren't necessarily capital either, like engineering isn't capital.
Engineering is a capital. You can capitalize engineering.
As long as we have bids, well, I mean, I understand someone's gonna say, well, there should be bids along the way, and I heard what you said, Denise, that there's bids, so we send it to Board of
You said quotes.
Quotes, I mean, not bids, quotes. So we sent it to, it doesn't have to be formal quotes, it could be just, a letter from somebody saying, this is the cost. Because we send it to Board of Finance, and the Board of Finance sends it to town meeting, and someone stands up at the town meeting and says, did the folks making the decisions here to transfer this, did they have quotes? And then in the past, I've heard, there's not necessarily quotes, and then people are expected to vote at town meeting when we're passing things along. So, I mean, I'm not going to say no to any of these, even though some may not be my priority, because it's not my decision. At the end of the day, it's the voters' decision to decide. And these are all, it's some form or another, they're valid, but they may not be, for me, the priority, all of them, or you may not think they're all priority for you, but I'm willing to pass them along, let the voters decide.
Anybody else?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Please.
So, I mean, I'm going to probably touch on some of the stuff that Keith brought up. But for me, anything that's on the CIP list, as long as we're taking an order, that's what the people want, and the work is done. So I'm pretty comfortable with that. The only other thing that I want to bring up, and I'll bring it up every time we talk about this, is for that water quality at the reservoir. Some years ago, we had a little over $400,000 worth of work done to clean the water up. And that was an engineered project. And so I think we need to make sure that whoever does this engineering has that information, because whatever was done, and we didn't pay for that, by the way, Walmart paid for it, but I mean, it was still $435,000. That whatever was done didn't work right, apparently. And we need to take into account that engineering when they do this engineering. And I'll bring that up every time. So. That's it, me.
The only one on the LoSiP list, which is an existing LoSiP project, but it's not on the CIP list, is the dog pound roof.
Well,
But that is,
I'm
that's
glad you
been,
brought that up, because yeah, I think we all have been around long enough. We've been dealing with that fixed for 10 years, 15 years. So it's good to see that finally get done.
Well, since you brought it up, I said, I'm not revisiting the issue of Chief Tyler, the dog facility in South Windsor, because that's sort of water under the bridge. But if you add up the costs that we've spent to, including this roof, that we've spent to rehabilitate that old building, we would have been paying for multiple years worth of participation in the Chief Tyler thing.
And I won't litigate it either, but
Yeah.
it's ours and we can do what we want.
That's true. Listen, I didn't say I supported everything on here, but you brought up the pound. I don't agree with everything on here, but it's not my decision. It's the voters' decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
Upset.
Right.
ladies,
No, I think that they're all worthy projects that are worth passing on.
so I'd ask for a motion to recommend to the Board of Finance and forward to town meeting the funding request summarized on slide 5.
I'll make a motion to accept the funding request summary on slide 5. You want me to read them off?
Slide 6. Yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah, from LoSiP, police cruiser for 70,000, police security for 28,000, pocket parks for 100,000, dog pound roof for 14,000, grills and gazebos 60,000. Under CNR unallocated, digital signage 15,000, Sen onboarding 25,200, fencing replacement 75,000, waterfront engineering 125,000, paving 300,000, cemetery repairs 28,000, and PD drone 21,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh,
It's just a cough. Mrs. Williams.
we only got what, 99 more years of the cough to go?
Yeah, something feels like it. So I think the next 2 items are yours. The floor is yours.
Thank you for adding arts and culture to the agenda. I'll try to keep it really brief. The first is the crosswalk installation. The local traffic authority, aka the police commission, was okay with the project. They agreed to have board of selectmen make the final decision on whether or not to move forward with the installation.
Okay.
Do we have a picture of what the actual installation will
I
look
was
like?
gonna ask, I thought you had, somebody had said that there was there were another set of examples.
I mean, I looked up a few more. It's just gonna be a random pattern. So, I mean, I can't say specifically what it's gonna look like. It's just gonna be whatever colors we get. They're gonna be randomly painted onto the bricks. So it's not gonna have a specific design. It's not gonna. Whatever color paint we get. I'm gonna try not to put all the same color together. That's as much as I can tell you.
Are we gonna allow the kids to help?
Oh, yeah. We're gonna make them do it all.
That will be cool.
Actually, I'd like to get as many. The teachers, the administration of all 3 schools, not just the Broadbrook School, town hall employees, police officers, you know. Everyone's fine.
That the LTA is good.
So usually paint markings as long as they're adhered to their issue.
I mean, there's like 1,300 bricks, so.
Holy moly, where are you doing this? Over there is 13, the stamped concrete is 1,300 bricks?
You need all hands on deck.
I wonder if people use it more.
Baby steps, progress is being made. One of the things I should have put on that wish list is a higher fence.
Somebody did suggest.
Actually-
Put, footprints. And maybe, you know, the kids would enjoy walking on the footprints on some of the bricks, you know. We're open to that, but we just envisioned painting the bricks a solid color.
We don't need state approval to,
No, it's town road.
oh, that's a town.
Make a motion to approve the crosswalk art installation at the Broadbrook Elementary School.
Second.
Made and seconded. Any discussion? Keith?
You know, I want to say, I kind of wish it wasn't random. I kind of wish it was more like a mural. Next time around, when we do something like this, I think it's an art culture commission. Students should be doing something art worthy. I understand that this is a nice project and it's going to be an enhancement there. Nothing against it. I'm glad we're doing it. But I really wish we had a mural of some sort or some artwork going over there. And I know it got shut down pretty quickly because all of a sudden the public came in and said, oh, what if it's this and what if it's that? And then that deterred the committee, I think, from at that point. But I think in the future, if we do our work for the community, it should be our work, like a mural. And I think it's a little bit of a lost opportunity. I'm sure it's going to be wonderful anyway. I'm going to support it. That's just my
We
opinion.
had the money for it. I
Right.
mean, murals are expensive.
I understand.
Professional
Yeah.
artists are expensive.
Well, I was even thinking the students could, you know, how you use like pointillism or they have like colors, you know, you could do one brick, different colors that are designed to create like a picture of some sort. But that's for the future. That's for something else, but next round, right?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You have your approval.
By the way, if you haven't seen the flag that was done,
Oh, that's
It's
It's
awesome.
amazing.
American Legion, you need to take a ride. That is awesome.
Yeah. Positive.
That's awesome. That guy has got to be commended.
So the second was, this summer we finished our first bottle cap mural. So these are bottle caps that were collected by, we had one here at Town Hall, a box down at the annex. We collected over 15,000 caps and we used only 1,500 to make the first mural, but it's 6 2-by-2-foot panels. And because it's based, so the original artwork that it's based on was painted by a former police captain here in East Windsor. So our original plan was to put it on the police building. But that's no longer an option for us. So I'm coming to you to help us figure out where we can put this installation. And it should go on the outside of a building, because unlike this piece of art where you could get up close and like see the details of it, this will look better the further back you see it. Something that can be seen from the street side of a building. And we will necessitate, you know, drilling into the brick or whatever you're adhering into, but
We have limited options. Where are you recommending?
police station. That was our.
Ben's shaking his head and he's got a gun, so.
Could it be put on the recreation park and rec portion of that building at the other end?
They're moving out.
Well, but at least it'd be on the building because it's still public building.
I'm going to suggest the community center.
Debbie, is this is not intended to be lasting for years, right? It's gonna degrade over time, their bottle caps, and it's not gonna, we don't know how long it'll last, right?
I think it would last a very long time.
Right. If for some reason wanted to change it out or take it off, we could. It wouldn't be like, okay, yeah.
Could you work with Joe and see what he's got for an idea?
Sure.
And then you guys can come back to us and give us a recommendation.
Okay.
Does that sound like a plan?
And the third thing is reception of a poet laureate here in East Windsor. A high school student came to us with the idea. She presented all of her research at our last meeting. She was very thorough with it, and as a committee, we agreed that we should move forward with it. It was a great idea. We could establish a student poet laureate and then an adult poet laureate. And if we put out a call for poets and we get several applications, I'm coming to you tonight to see if one of you would maybe want to sit on the panel that would decide who would get the position. And two, when we do establish either a student and or an adult poet laureate, I just want you to guys think of some events where they could write a poem and present it.
I got two right off the rip, Veterans Day and Memorial Day.
Probably too soon for Veterans Day this year. I just came from the River Commission tonight. They agreed if we establish somebody in enough time, they would have them read a poem at the first day hike.
That's great.
You could see if you could do something for graduation for sure.
So it's recommended if you have a panel that choose the poet laureate, you have somebody from like an arts council, maybe somebody from the library, somebody from like the Board of Selectmen, and maybe from the Historical Society, just to round it out. So, if any of you is interested, if we get to that point.
Sarah, you're the liaison, right? Would you like to take that up?
Sure, I'd love to.
Okay.
As far as establishing that group, will you reach out to the Historical Society and the library and, okay, great. I just want to commend the Arts and Culture Committee. They are so positive and working together with other groups and just, they're really doing a phenomenal job and they have a lot of exciting things in the works and it's a great meeting to go to. I think, I wish more public would go. I hope they start.
I gotta say, I love the little bits of art that are popping up around town. I look forward to more of it. It's great.
You guys are killing it. Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Williams. Deputy Chief Murphy. Good evening, sir. How are you? We have what I think is another annual renewal. Can you explain to the board and to the audience what the Connecticut ICAC is, what it does and why it's important?
Sorry, Chief Carl can't be here today. He's actually watching his son graduate basic academy training down in Georgia. So hoorah to him and congratulations to you, Carl. So this is more or less a formality. We're entering into an agreement again with the Connecticut State Police. So the ICAT training is Internet Crimes Against Children team. Basically, it's Detective Tessier is our liaison with that group. He receives free training, resources, repository information. Anybody who has children, grandchildren, or just turn on the television, there's a cesspool of bad actors online nowadays, and this provides us training to be able to go to actually go after some of these predators going after children. What that also in details too is we get notification when something pops up in East Windsor. We had that twice earlier this year where we get flagged with an IP address. For those who aren't familiar, every electronic device that you have, basically that connects to the internet, has an IP address, which is essentially a fingerprint to your device. That somebody was exchanging some illegal pictures or whatnot. So we get to run that down. So we get a repository information, you get free training. We actually get their help if we do have an active investigation, because these investigations are taxing, it's search warrants, after search warrants, and a lot of legal information that a person like me, 22+ years in the job, I've never done an investigation as such. You have specialist training for that. So this allows us to continue working with that partnership. There's zero downside. It's just more tools for us and our resources in this department. Again, more of a formality. Any questions on that?
Thank you, sir. Any questions?
I'll mention on the note of keeping children safe, I'm going to give a shameless plug. We're doing children ID kits this Saturday at the police department from 8 to 12. So if you want to come down here, we're taking pictures of kids, we're doing fingerprints and DNA. If God forbid the worst case scenario, a child goes missing, this provides you with at least information on that to present to the first responders if indeed you're looking for your children. Free of charge, no age limit. So if your kids are 15 and you think they need to be photographed and bring them down.
Speak to my wife about that. Thank you very much. Questions about the ICAC or Deputy Chief Murphy? I have a motion authorizing my signature.
Make a motion that we authorize the first selectman, and I'm going to put in there the chief of police, even though he probably doesn't need our authorization. But the first selectman and chief of police to sign the ICAC memorandum of understanding concerning crimes against Connecticut internet crimes against children.
Your second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Deputy. Another grant opportunity, this one from the Office of the Secretary of the State. Madam Registrar, would you like to, and I think Mark, we have both registrars. Would you guys like to explain what this is and what you're going to do with it?
Big party? No.
Say that.
So, Mark, you want to explain? It's pretty straightforward.
Pretty straightforward, you know, we're into early voting, whole new world for us. It's like being, if you ever ride a roller coaster and you're at the top of the hill, and this baby's going down. Well, that's the way I feel. Denise is my partner there, we're teaching each other a lot. I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, but at the seminar, where the other day, there's a state statute that says that the election process must be funded. We ask for, we have to get a whole bunch of work, 14 days of early voting, plus the election itself, a lot of hours. Also, people in each day, so if we need a recommendation, pass this, if that will happen. I don't know what the amount of the grant is.
The amount of the grant was like 3,100.
I didn't see that in there. It said at least 2,000, but I didn't see an East Windsor specific amount. I might have missed it.
Yeah. The grant would be up to $10,000, and each community got something up to $10,000. So for us to get 3,000. Is very fortunate when you compare us to a Bridgeport that doesn't getting 10, you know, it was a good amount.
Yeah, on a per capita basis, we're way on the winning side there.
So it would be used for, as Mark is pointing out, some of the expenses related to workers, whether it's be salaries or food, because we have to feed them. It has to be specific to election related early voting kind of stuff. So I filled out what I could and it has to come to you guys.
Questions, comments, observations? Keith?
Denise, with this grant and with what was allocated in the budget, do you think you're gonna have enough money to pay for the early voting for this election?
I'm truly not sure. I will get a better picture once we map out. We've had to get a whole lot of new poll workers. Once we map out what we're going to need for each day, and I think we've decided on 4 workers every day. We bought for $50 a refrigerator for the annex for where early voting will take place, so that we can bring in food from the grocery store rather than restaurant food all the time. We're trying to save the elements. We're trying to say, you know, donate like us eggs or something.
Honey,
There you go.
some ground lamb.
So we are trying to be very conservative in our spending, but it's a lot.
And Denise, I saw something, I don't know if it was from you or from Mark, but there was something that indicated that there was some talk about making the poll workers town employees. And then there was some talk about, I think it was a letter from somebody, and then Mark, I think. And then it said that there may be an issue if they're made town employees because they could be on boards and commissions and they wouldn't be able to accept, they couldn't act as, they couldn't do both. And is that resolved? Is that already settled? Because I was surprised that poll workers would become town employees with all the ramifications.
That's Jason to get us a legal opinion on that, so.
Right. So it's still being processed. It's not quite determined
No,
yet.
I provided a legal opinion.
Yeah.
IRS law says that they do need to be employees.
So then the poll workers are gonna get like workers' comp and we have to pay for social security, everything. Right. Does that mean that they can't, that pursuant to that letter, if you can't be on certain boards and commissions and receive, so, or
They can volunteer, but they can't
get paid?
be an employee.
Do you guys have just for clarity's sake, are you gonna be putting together a list of, because I don't know what boards and commissions they can't, you know,
Board of Finance, Board of Selectmen, I think those are the only 2.
those are the only 2, okay.
Because they deal with the money that would eventually be going to employees, right?
Does it have to be, and I don't want to open up a can of worms, but did it have to be that they were town employees versus 1099 pays? It did?
Tax law, I guess, changed, is that? I only read it on my phone, so I need to print it out really short, but.
We need, this grant money will help because it's going to absorb some of those additional costs potentially. Yeah, okay. I appreciate hearing all the things that you folks have been doing to keep costs down. And, you know, I don't think anyone thought poll workers were getting rich for, you know, we're getting extremely well paid. Now we all know they're not getting very well paid. But it is it's necessary to have good, qualified, honest people that we can count on to do the poll working. Because as I said previously, this is all about our election integrity. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but I believe in democracy, and I think our elections are fundamental to our democracy. So having this process taken care of properly is one of the most important things that we do as a community, as a government, is to ensure that our elections are operating properly. So I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you.
Denise with you there.
And I would mark, we are a good counterpart.
And this rule about the 9/4 commission, that was devastating. That person sitting up here is very knowledgeable and good worker.
And 2 board of finance members.
They're very, big loss. So,
Things to think about, they're in charge of the vision.
yeah.
There's a way to
What phrase? Find every way to figure it out. Thank you, Freddie. And again.
So back to the matter at hand, it's a grant application, it needs authorization for me to sign.
Move to approve the early voting grant on behalf of the town of East Windsor and authorize the signature of the first selectman.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, for the last several years, we've done a staff retreat. I think you all are familiar with that. We've used the same company each of those years, and he actually does some training for the summer employees that we have too. They do a fantastic job. The quote in front of you is $1,000, so it can be sole sourced. I'd like your authorization to retain them again this year for our staff retreat.
I just want to make sure the public understands. You're asking for 2 hours, right, for the retreat. I thought 10 to 2 or 10 to 12. What was it?
That's what the facilitator will do. We have other things that fill the day.
So it's a full day.
It's a Friday, so it's a half a day.
Is it off-site or is it on-site?
That's an interesting question. It used to be done at Scout Hall. That's not going to be available to us this year. So I don't think we've determined whether it's going to be at the senior center or the annex, or here. It's going to be on one of those places. It's going to be at a town facility.
And are all the employees, are they required to go? Is there going to be a work that day?
Yeah.
So you're asking for the funding for the facilitator part of it?
Correct.
Make a motion that we authorize, the hiring or the, I'll say hiring,
Authorize the approval. of the
authorizing
contract.
authorizing approval, to enter into the contract between, Empower Leadership for the town of East Windsor.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Mr. Norton, good evening. How are you?
Tired.
Yeah. I think the next 3 are you.
I don't
Holy.
have an agenda, so
First up is CMG, Stormwater Pollution Prevention. Concept for a plan.
I think everybody has a copy of it.
Yes.
So this firm, we is contracted with for several many years. And the individual who does our particular work, our environmental professional that comes out and inspects our facility and helps with some of our stormwater management, what have you. We've been dealing with him since I've been here. He's actually been with 2 or 3 different companies, but he's very familiar with our facility and what we do. So I would like to sign this proposal, or have you sign this proposal. So we can continue with, I mean, if you look on here, we've got the EPCRA reporting, the stormwater compliance. He comes to the facility once a month, walks around, determines if we're doing anything wrong or right or what have you. Generally, we're doing things right. Once in a while, we have a dumpster that's not covered, which seems silly, but part of the plan. We're gonna have to be coming up with a new, which one do we have to come up with? I believe there's going to be, there's gonna be a general permit registration. He does our training for our spill prevention. It's what we do. It's very reasonable. It's about, I don't think it's gone up any much in the past 5 years or whatever. It seems to be between $9,000 and $12,000 every year, depending on what I tell them I want. So I'd love to be able to sign this so we can continue on with what we're doing, or have you sign it.
Questions, comments, observations? Keith,
Jason, I thought what's the threshold for bidding
20,
and what's the threshold for quotes?
5.
So are we supposed to have 3 quotes?
Yep,
So, but we don't have 3 quotes.
correct.
So I think it's not consistent with our rules for hiring this kind of consultant.
The exception to that would be if it was on.
Take your time.
Second.
Yeah.
Sourcewell or CROG or the state bid list, we can deal direct.
Well, we can use them direct, but they're approved for bidding, but I think we still have to get quotes.
No, we don't. The policy allows us to direct source off of those. We don't have to do the quotes or the bids if they're on the approved list.
I think the issue with hiring without following, I hear what you're saying, but this excludes other businesses, including other potentially local businesses, from wanting to compete for this work. And I understand they're doing great, but it wouldn't be that hard to get quotes. Call up 1 or 2 other companies and say, hey, do you want to submit a quote for this work? It's pretty simple. And then we would be able to follow our policy. I understand what you're saying. It's on the list, but I'm pretty
I
big.
did not say it's on the list. I said we're allowed to go off the list.
Oh, okay. So we don't know if it's on the list.
I don't know.
I think we just need to have 3 quotes with the right number of quotes so that we can compare to make sure that not only that other businesses, maybe local businesses, are not missing out on opportunity, but also that and the cost doesn't seem unreasonable. I just want to follow our policies. That's all.
Is this on the state list?
I don't believe they are. We've just been using them for probably 8 years. This individual for probably 20.
And there are other people who do this kind of work.
Very sure.
All right, can you get a couple more quotes?
That's one. So
The stormwater monitoring, this is only at Public Works. This is not like throughout our network.
this is town. He has to monitor certain outfalls. We've gone through and we've located all our outfalls. As this plan progresses, we're going to have to monitor either more or less depending on what they find when they monitor them. But it's every 6 months or every 12 months, I believe. He actually goes out and monitors water coming out of a flared end or an end wall.
All source point. Interesting. Now, how many of those are there?
Line, I'm not sure. I know we have probably 1,500 catch basins, but not sure how many. I don't remember. Every cross culvert.
Couple more bits?
Yep. Quotes. quotes, Jason, not bids.
Yes. JTC Consulting.
Yeah, we'll just put that aside. It was the same thing. Company we're been doing business with. That's my pavement management, who again have intimate knowledge of our road system in town. We've been, actually, I take that back. We've been using VHB, who sold their pavement management to John Turner. But if you look at the proposal, two of the items in the proposal for services are going to come back from VHB. And the person that's doing the work for John Turner, he worked at VHB and transferred over to run the program with John Turner when they sold the program over to John Turner Consulting. So basically, there's one would be about 15,000, and then VHB is responsible for about 8,000 of the 23. So if I know your feeling on that, I'll just put that aside.
Jason, I think this one needs some quotes, bids, because it's over 20.
Well,
Right?
that would be determinative based on the other quotes. You know, if somebody came in under.
Oh, that's true.
So
Right, yeah.
we don't know that yet.
This is a company now out of Matchog, Massachusetts, and again, local opportunities. Not to say anyone local is going to do better price wise or match the price, but might be a Connecticut company, might be a local company. So, but you're right. If we get quotes and this quote under, then we wouldn't need the bids. Agree with that.
Just where we get the report
Yes.
of this, we got 75% of the roads are terrible kind of thing. And
Yep.
Yeah.
do we have a recent report?
5-year-old.
2018, I believe, was the last time VHB actually found anything.
So this would give us another updated report.
This would update that pavement management.
Encore.
This one. I don't know. On page 2. Which is on
I know
the
what you're
back
gonna say.
one. I highlighted on mine. I don't think I highlighted it on yours. The term of this agreement shall be 1 contract year, date execution shall not be automatically renewed. This is for fiscal year 24-25. During this term, we adopt state contract pricing based on Southern New England pricing. So this is, and we have been using these people for many years. This is for our fire extinguishers. They came out and did the inventory. They did their inspections and did their inventory. I paid that bill, and then this is a new proposal. Do the maintenance on the fire extinguishers. We need some that need to be recharged, some that need to be replaced, some that need to be tested. There's a plethora of things that they can do with the fire extinguishers, and we need to stay up to date on that. And this is, I told the person that I needed this to be state contract pricing, and they said this is what they do for the state contract pricing for Southern New England. And this one, I'm gonna be a little adamant on. We really need to get this done because our fire extinguishers,
That's an OSHA
we
concern.
have a number of them that need attention. Just because of age and what have you.
Am I right? The total project cost or total contract cost is $425? It says the total cost for test and inspection is $25.
Test and inspect them.
The next
Now
table.
I'm going to get individual proposals for the PD, the town hall, public works, senior center, or any extinguishers that need to be fixed or repaired. And they have the pricing they're talking about for contract pricing is on it starts on page 3. It's the different size extinguishers. there's an annual inspection, there's hydrostatic testing, there's refill and recharge. And then there's a cost that you actually have to replace one, which, you know, it's rare that we actually have to replace one. Most of them, you just need to be, you know, have the hydrostatic testing or be filled or recharged. I'd like to get us up to compliance.
I have a question.
Yep.
So this says it's for fiscal year 24-25, which we're already currently in, and July is checked. So does that mean that was already done under this contract that we haven't gone into yet? Or am I misunderstanding?
I don't know what that means.
Well, that, I think that's just saying they came out and did their inspection in July. They did come out and do an inspection in July.
Okay, as part of this package though, that we haven't approved?
I believe they're telling us that it was done prior to this, but we're gonna need to do it for, I've already, it's checked here, but I've already paid for that.
You paid for July.
This year.
So I just did some quick math at 86.
As I was getting a new one of these, so they called and said, we need to come out and inspect everything. I said, fine, well, inspect. So they did, and it was in July. And I paid the bill.
I got it.
Oh,
So we have 86 extinguishers. And if we assumed them all to be the largest 20-pounders and all of them needed to be refilled and charged and hydrostatically tested and inspected, that comes out to $10,750.
no, that's, there's no way. It's,
I'm just saying worst case scenario, if like, right, because they're not all 20-pounders. They don't all need to be refilled.
they don't all need anything.
Right. I'm just saying that's a worst case scenario. Just to give us some idea of what kind of money we're paying.
I didn't bring any of the inspection reports.
Jason, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the first selectman to sign the test and inspection agreement with Encore Fire Protection. That's it.
Second.
Made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? All right, tax refunds.
So I just have a question. They come out in July.
Oh, you're still on the last thing.
Yeah, this contract runs July till July.
But we already paid that. I don't know, this is a new
Well,
one.
I'm just saying, because we're already into September, they didn't do August inspection?
No, that's the EU. Okay. They actually come out, why they come out, inspect the extinguishers annually. However, at the PD, because of their certification, it's like, they have to go through the PD semi-annual. In between, it is our responsibility to go through and inspect every fire extinguisher, make sure it's got
Tag,
charge.
yes.
There's a tag on it, you know, our facilities guy looks at it and initials it, and it's okay, and if he finds something that we need to address, we have to call him and say, look, we need a recharge, we need a fire extinguisher, we need whatever. So, but it's the month to month is our responsibility.
Okay. Thanks.
I'd like to go back two things while we got Lenny here.
Go for it.
So that report, like I'm hoping we can get those quotes so we can make that decision and we can get them in here to do that work, because I'd love to have that report in time for the budget.
How long does that report take to populate?
They're gonna come out, they're gonna. Roads again, it's gonna take a while, they're gonna do it, I mean, this is not something they're gonna do in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we don't
I
get kicking until December, so.
I've already put my CIP together for my pavement management based upon what I have and what my knowledge of what I've done, because I track everything I do every year, but I'm trying to get an updated report, because I got stuff I did 15 years ago that maybe it needs some attention or what have you. I know what everyone in here knows where the bad roads are. Those are the expensive ones. We're trying to take care of those and then get to a point where we can do some different treatments to prolong the pavement. I mean, I just had a new bridle path, which is That's probably 15 years old. You just gotta completely reconstruct it and put drainage and under drains and everything.
Yeah, I know. I just think that that report, I remember seeing it before. It's like an excellent resource if we're trying to say,
Very valuable.
you know, this is what this money is getting spent on, you know?
Color coded?
Yep.
Yeah,
But
a
it,
lot of the red is becomes blue. Thanks to the funding we get. Blue means good.
Okay, tax refunds. There are 3 meetings worth here. Patty has gone through and has represented that she's corrected the confusions. We should be able to move forward with these.
You want them as one motion or separately?
Dealer's choice. Is
I move to approve the tax refunds totaling $13,498.68.
there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Where are you getting the 13,000 from?
There's,
We
there's,
got 3,
yeah, 5,285
5,000,
and then
this
this
one.
5,6, yeah.
okay.
What's that?
Yeah.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed?
Stuck that aside. Put on these.
I'm a non-smoker. Yeah, right. On September 6th, I'm right, yeah. On September 6th, East Windsor held our rescheduled National Night Out, which was a tremendous success. Holding this event on the Friday after Labor Day, I think allowed for a really good turnout. We had a great night, great weather, park was in great shape, the band was great, and there were lots of community vendors that were able to interact with the residents. I thought it was a home run of a night. This past Sunday, September 15th, I had the honor of attending the retirement banquet for retired East Windsor Ambulance Chief Tom Clinch. Chief Clinch was a tireless fighter for the betterment of the East Windsor Ambulance Service over his 38-year career. And he has a distinction of leaving that organization better than he found it and on very solid footing to move forward years into the future. I want to extend my congratulations again to Chief Clinch and his wife Laura as they start a new chapter where they can enjoy their time together. But it was a great turnout, representative of the man that was honored, and it was a great night. On September 28th, there are 2 fun community events to take note of. The first is the Ice Cream Social, which is being hosted by the East Windsor Historical Society on their campus on Scantic Road. That will be from 12 to 4. The second event is the Warehouse Point Fire Department's annual pig roast, which will be at the Bridge Street Station from 4 to 8, I think. Both are great family-friendly events and support 2 great community organizations. Encourage anybody to attend one or both of those. We have a lot of town facility updates underway, and some of the updates I'd like to share. We are working on the replacement of the East Windsor's aging public safety radio system. That system, more than 20 years old, is well beyond its useful life. If that system were to fail, our emergency services would have no reliable means by which to communicate with one another during an emergency. So we received state funds that will allow us to eliminate that problem, rebuild that system in a way that will enhance public safety response and communications in all of North Central Connecticut. And I want to give Chief Carl a public thanks for his hard work on that so far. His current task is making sure the dollars line up with what we have available, and I'm optimistic he will come through again. In October, the town will be holding a ribbon cutting for the new field lighting on the soccer field at the Abbey Road Soccer Complex. I think that's going to be on October 4th. The new lights allow for an enhanced experience for our high school and recreational athletes. Night games are a fantastic way of bringing the community together to support young athletes and also, build relationships amongst ourselves. The plan would be, if I have the date correct, the plan would be after one of the high school games, but before one of the youth recreational games, we'll do a commemoration or a dedication of the lights. So that should be fun. Work has begun to update Osborne Field and Volunteer Park by restoring the basketball court, which is done, installing new pickleball courts, which the foundation for which has been, I think, is being poured tomorrow. We're improving the sidewalks, gazebos, and picnic areas. These projects have been accomplished through the utilization of ARPA dollars. The Arts and Culture Commission, which was here earlier, they painted the soccer kickback board with the youth soccer logo. It looks great. There were about 45 5-year-olds running around it about 2 hours ago. What else? You all are familiar that we've completed the water line at the replacement of the main water service line into the middle school, the Broadbrook Elementary School chimney, and the gym ceiling. That project is done. Those are done mostly through local capital dollars. In case anyone was unaware, unlikely, but we're coming up on a presidential election, and the state is requiring towns to offer 2 weeks of early voting, which we heard about. So I have some detail in my report about that. I'll pass on. And lastly, I want to make sure that everyone is aware that the Haunted Highway will take place on October 24th. This is another great family-friendly Halloween celebration that also encourages good-spirited competition among the booth sponsors. I have it on very good authority that the police department is looking forward to coming in second again for the third year in a row. So that's going to be a ton of fun. There's been some good natured ribbing that's already started. And hope to see everybody there for that. That's my report. Right.
The only meeting that I was able to attend, since our last meeting was the police department, police commission's meetings. Just to bring you up to date, there's 2 recruits currently, at the Academy in New Britain. They just hired a new dispatcher, York. And they're in the process of, putting together, some functional, things in the future. As Jason mentioned, the police cruisers continue to be an issue. So he's addressed that, so I won't. They did have a traffic concern, that they reviewed, on East Road, with a line of sight issue, and that was resolved, and some signage is being put up there, for that individual. So thank you for taking those extra steps for that person. National Night Out, was a good night. Police department was out there in full force. So that was very good. We instituting the CERT program, and they'll be working on that with the volunteers that have stepped forward for that. So that's a good idea. And they also have instituted a junior program. Explorer program, thank you, in town. So that's something that I have hoped for years that they would do in this town, because Enfield has done it for years. So, yes, sir.
If I may, our first meeting is October 6th, 6 p.m. If anyone has a child, student, any kid you coach, somebody you want to recommend, age 12 to 20 in this town. And if they have an adjoining town without a post in their own town, let's say Granby, who doesn't have one, that child is eligible to join our troop as well. And we're endeavoring to get 15 kids, and believe me, are hovering between 7 and 8 locked in right now. Somehow I'm twisting one of the Murphy children in there as well.
And the other thing that they talked about is the Broadbrook Elementary School and the concern that both the school and the police department has with the amount of vehicles and the amount of kids that are being dropped off and different areas all over the road, and the congestion and the concern that somebody might get hurt eventually. So there's several ideas that have been looked at and floating around, and that hopefully near future, some resolve will be made. I think painting those crosswalks might help to encourage families to walk through it, and the kids that have done that, so that might take some of that. But just encourage, if you know any which program getting dropped off at private school, just remind them to follow the protocol that's been set forth by the school and the police department, because they will start doing some enforcement if they have to. So that's all I got.
So just two things on that. First of all, I drop my kids off every morning. We adamantly use the crosswalk.
Yeah.
And I've, since the PD has stepped up their public communications and their public presence,
Yeah.
it is a lot better than it used to be. There's still some room to go,
Yeah.
but there's incredible progress. The other thing you rattled off, a number of initiatives that the police department is taking, whether it's CERT or the
Yeah.
Explorer program. I want to give Deputy Chief Murphy a lot of credit for that. And he'll be the first one to say that it's Chief Carl's department and that, you know, it's done with the chief's acquiescence, and all that is true. But since the leadership team of Chief Carl and Deputy Chief Murphy have come on, the really positive things that are happening there are so noticeable. I just want to thank you very much for what is clearly your influence on this.
And I've agreed with that, and I've commented about that previously, so I don't want to give him too much of a swollen head. You know, so, but Jason's right, good, you guys are doing an excellent job together. And the kids are just absolutely loving what you're doing, and it's not part of the meeting, but I know when there were some issues at the school last year, the kids were excited when they got to school, and there was police officers in the front and the back, making sure that they felt okay about entering the school. I don't believe in all the years that I've been down that has ever happened. So kudos to them. They are taking one step and just moving forward with everything. I just hope they don't get themselves overwhelmed. But
Keith.
Maybe Alan should go first. I don't want to steal your thunder again on P and Z. I was going to comment on it tonight, but I did it last time to you, so.
I knew you were gonna do it again
So
too.
that's why you should go before me, okay?
Fair enough. Al.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so there was really just one thing that, maybe two things, but one thing that was important out of planning and zoning is they approved the second text amendment that's been kind of bandied about. So I just wanted to talk about that just a little bit, you know, the reason for that text amendment was the direct,
Oh, that's the planned commercial development.
yeah, the planned commercial development. It was a direct result of the work that was done with the warehouse point study. I can't stress enough that people should be reading that. It's on the website. You know, it's the idea behind that is to be proactive in that district and to revitalize it with the thought in mind that there's going to be a lot of commercial investment going in across the river from us, and you know, we should be doing as much as we can to make it easy for residents to make changes to the property, which that was certainly a large part of that process. If any of you remember, it was dozens of meetings. All kinds of people showed up to them, all kinds of input, and we got a ton of good hard data out of that we're trying to put into place. So basically what this one did was to just set aside some areas that make it a little bit more proactive on how people can use them, and then to set some architectural design standards that everybody wanted for that area. So for the streetscaping and for the type of buildings that are being used. So that did pass, and I think that was a great thing that they did. And Keith can fill in the rest of it.
Well, I just want to expand on it. The meetings on both text amendments, which was over 3 or 4 nights, was a lot of people came to the meetings. There was a lot of public comment. The board, Planning and Zoning Commission asked a lot of questions, and it was really great. It was kind of an iterative process where they scaled back this text amendment, which would have encompassed any state road across the town in terms of potential commercial development in overlay district, to the Warehouse Point Village District. And so just witnessing the amount of public input, the response from planning and zoning to alter the text amendment and to modify it, and then to get back to the central principle of what they were trying to do, as Alan said, which was to expand the commercial opportunities in the Warehouse Point District, and alleviating the fears and concerns that a lot of people had about their own homes and their balance of East Windsor, which was really great to see. Also, the Public Building Commission is still considering whether to hire a replacement architect for the community center. They postponed their last meeting to get more data to come back for the next meeting, but that's going to come before us. And I urge everybody up here to become familiar with the issue and make sure we have enough information that night, because we're gonna be the deciding vote to whether or not there's gonna be a replacement architect for that community center. After they make their recommendation to us whether to proceed with or without that. So we need to be educated, so as well as they are, so that we can address the vote the recommendation that comes to us, which will be soon. So we should be educated about it. That's it.
Sarah.
Okay, on September 9th, I attended the Warehouse Point Fire Commissioners meeting. There were 82 fire calls in the month of August through September 8th. The fire marshal's office completed 24 inspections, generating 10 re-inspections in the month of August. The 2 jet skis are on site and training has begun. A water policy is being drafted and they should be in service by the end of this month. A lengthy discussion took place in regards to the drone program that has been initiated through emergency management. There are some issues that are being worked out between the town and the fire district in regards to insurance and where the drones are stored. The commissioners and the chief expressed their desire to have a drone kept at the firehouse, so they are able to assist promptly when needed to help the police department out in a crisis and be a part of a cohesive emergency management plan. The district currently has 2 licensed pilots and 7 people are enrolled in the class. On September 10th, the Arts and Culture Committee met. East Windsor High School student Anam Khan addressed the group, asking them to consider getting involved in the process of appointing a poet laureate, which we heard from the chairman tonight. Her discussion was very informative and it is in the minutes. If you want to familiarize yourself with the research, I'm looking forward to being a part of the process. As Jason mentioned, the East Windsor Soccer Club kickboard is complete with the logo painted on it. And Arts and Culture is hoping to partner with the Senior Center to offer some field trips next year. One being a bus trip to the Wadsworth in Hartford for their art and flower show, May 3rd through the 5th. The tentative date for Arts and Culture Day is May 18th of next year. And the group is discussing a possible multimedia juried art show to be held, which could be titled Autumn in East Windsor. There's more to come on that. And East Windsor was the host town for the 4-town fair this year, and we participated in the parade. We missed you, Keith. And congratulations to the Broadbrook Fire Department on winning Best Appearing Concession for their booth at the fair. That's all that I have.
It was a pulled pork parfait.
Yeah, looked good.
I tell you, they make a mean breakfast sandwich too. Public participation, second opportunity for members of the public to address the board. Same rules as before. I'll first ask if there's anybody here in the room. If so, please identify yourself by your name and address, and then I'll provide the opportunity to. That'll be it. Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Gary, Depot Street. I attended the meeting of the fact finding division myself. The Board of Education. I heard what they put out. I wasn't clear about some things. I think there was 10 of us there. 2 of the people were select persons.
One of each.
And, I was taken back by the fact that I get 3 minutes to talk. As much money as we pay for taxes in the school, I get 3 minutes if I go once a month to talk. That's ridiculous. I mean, even yourself here, you allow the people to say what they have to say. Half of the time with somebody interrupting me with their answers, and I wasn't even finished. I just think that that's really not representative of what we want the town to be. And if we're going to go to a meeting and speak and hear what the panel has to say about their choices of schools and stuff, 3 minutes is going to do it for these questions. What do we do about that?
That's a policy decision by the board itself to set their own rules. So that would be, I hate to tell you this, but it's a Board of Ed concern.
So what?
To redress your seeking is something that the Board of Ed would have to decide to do.
Not good.
Sorry. Is there any other? Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Kingsport, Rockville, Connecticut. I'm curious, you mentioned these catch spaces around town. They're checked once a year. What do they check for? Contaminants or chemicals?
Back and sucked out, aren't they?
Well, they do maintain them, like they clean them out every year, but yeah, they're. I don't want to speak for what the criteria is, but the idea is, water pollution control.
If they catch something there that doesn't belong there, do they investigate or go out and try to track it down?
They clean it out. Could be, potato chip wrappers that somebody threw off the side of the road, or leaves that have accumulated, or the road salt and sand. Dead body here and there.
Seems like an awful lot, 1,100 or something,
1,500.
1,500. That many.
Some roads don't even have any.
If you see curbing, there are catch basins. If you don't see curbing, they're generally not. I saw Adam, then I saw Paul, then I saw Bill.
Got a meeting 6 Cobblestone Drive, regarding the list of projects you had up there earlier, specifically on the CIP side on the left. First, I appreciate that you continue to look at the list. It sounded like that was the guideline or requirement, but nonetheless, appreciate that it's still used as a tool or resource. Along those lines, the first 2 items you had up there, thank you, Jason. The police cruise and police security were 1 and 2 on the list that we did in our rank of priority. And if I remember correctly, those are the last 2 that we had to cut and only partially fund. Our original request was to fully fund those, but when we got to the final allocation, unfortunately, we had to drop them a little bit. So it's great to see those up there. And I appreciate it. I don't want to speak for the whole committee, but I'm sure they appreciate it too, since they're 1 and 2 on the list. So just want to pass that along. And also real quick, that report that you're talking about with the roads, we have that in the CIP booklet every year, and that's also very valuable to us as well. So for what it's worth, we appreciate any updates for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations on your reappointment as chairman.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, Anderson 89. Notice that nothing's happened with this camera yet.
Yeah, I'm happy to address that with the reason for that with you offline.
That's fine. Okay, budget season's coming. What I have to say about item for the budget has nothing to do with any. But the first selectman / CEO of this town has been grossly underpaid as long as I've been in this town. It's ridiculous. My thought of someone in that position that has to work 7 days a week, ridiculous hours, make incredible decisions day in and day out as full management, no matter who sits there, has nothing to do with it. That's $150,000 job. And we're just acting like idiots because to get to a proper salary for that position, no matter who sits there, would cost the taxpayers almost nothing. It is, I think, horrible. It reflects badly on the town. And I don't like to see people abused, and that's what I consider it. But I've seen it for many, many years. It's just sad. And costs of living keep going up, and we're not doing squat about it, and I don't know why. I don't understand it. So budget season's coming. Please keep that in mind. I think it needs to be addressed properly.
Thank you, sir. Name and address, please.
Bill Host, 44 Melrose Road. I'm concerned about the Scott Hall over there. Again, I brought this up before we even voted on it, about the water problems over there. And I understand that we don't have an architect now that he died. And anything new plans is going through. We got a request the other night, I went over the meeting, they're looking for more siding for the side of the building. Whoever thought that the siding taken off the original building would cover the same amount as the new building. That's crazy. I mean, the new building is about 3 times the size of the old building on the outside. And yet they're looking for more money. Where's that money coming from? Is that an overrun? I understand it to put stone. What is it, $90,000 worth of stone underneath the building? When you throw a stone in a swamp, it sinks down through the mud till it hits either hard pan or clay. That's kind of stupid. They should have put a storm drain all the way around the building, put a drain right down through to Route 5, down Abbey Road. I don't know who's running that place over there. I asked if there was a clerk of the works. And I don't think you have a clerk of the works. You gotta have a clerk of the works, you gotta have an architect. We don't have an architect. These changes that they want to make now are just costing them more and more money for that building. So the Board of Selectmen has to get an architect to approve all these things. You can't just go out and, I'm not surprised that our building committee over there, I don't think they can make these decisions. You need an architect, somebody that has a license to do all that. The other problem I had was, as a member of the fire commission, elected by the town, they're talking about these drones that we're supposed to get from the town. I guess there was 3 drones that were going to be bought, and they're going to be put over the police department. They shouldn't be put in a police department. Once you go to each one of the departments, the police department, warehouse point department, and the fire department. If we want to use a drone, we have to go over to the police department and get permission from them to use it and sign out in order to use that drone. That's crazy. The drone should be put in each one of the departments. We talked to the chief of the police over there. He said the Board of Selectmen has to authorize that. So I'm asking you to authorize that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Name and address, please, sir.
Right Street. Just touching on what we talked about earlier, I was hoping that Denise was still here. I know you guys have seen this. We had the combination BOE POS meeting a few months back. What's that? Oh, no, actually, just a quiet talk. So again, looking at the options, it's not much. We're looking at basically renovations new. Still hoping to see something new that's really going to budget. You asked amazing questions earlier. I know where you're going with it. I still don't think there's necessarily a definitive answer. I've been asking the followings for months. I'm friends with half of the people on this board. This has nothing to do with an individual process. From my understanding from the questions right now, there's going to be a vote picking an option. That's what makes me nervous is that we don't have the right people from there, more people with experience with this stuff, helping to choose the option before pushing. If they're choosing an option, I don't, without the clarity, everything is, oh, we're going to bring people in later. We're going to bring somebody later. Well, what steps are those? How far? It's already a decision already been made. Are we now, like you said, pushing this narrative? When literally we have 6 options and 4 to 5 won't even buy it. You can ask for more. Talking to Patrick, you could have given 20, we get more out of it. I was adamantly against putting the schools together, but I'm open-minded. Nobody believes that, but I am. And after talking and learning a little bit more about the information, a certain way to go with that is great. But again, we're still not looking at new building. You might see a lot of displacement by renovating where we're going to put the kids, all this other stuff. And there's just a zillion questions. And again, I think it's premature to vote for something. And I could be wrong, but when I ask the question and I'm looking for answers, I'm not getting them. So I have to assume it's from the little bit of information I get. So 3 minutes ago, right? Exactly. And that's why I asked for the back and forth. Again, I don't have a ton of people in meetings, but at this point, these aren't viable options. Anybody in construction or anything like that, like, all right, we're looking at the same thing here. There's no real options here. Let's get a couple more. Let's take a look at it and go. So I don't know how this process works when they're supposed to be bringing this group in, whichever that floating group is, and this other group in. When is this? How does this process take place? What is involved in this process? But voting on something that don't have a lot more resources from the town to pull from to make decisions. I feel it's almost negligent, the process, of the people, the process. Just kind of throwing that back. I think everybody does awesome work there. Friends with half the people, but I just think the process is not. Can't keep doing this. That's it. So many people here, so that's the nervous stuff.
I think you know everybody here. Any other public comment? I cannot believe it's only 9:05, but I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moving.
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.